A family of 4 applying to settle permanently in the UK right now will pay just under £13,000 in government fees alone before a single lawyer's bill. That number, on its own, tells you something about where British immigration policy is heading in 2026. Higher costs, longer waits, and a system being rewritten in real time, with some changes already locked into law and others still just proposals fighting their way through Parliament. Here are 5 of the biggest immigration stories in Britain right now, and, importantly, which parts are actually confirmed and which are still just talk. Start with something that's already happened, no debate required. The price of settling permanently in Britain just went up. From the 8th of April 2026, the fee for indefinite leave to remain, the immigration status that effectively makes someone a permanent resident, rose from £3,029 to £3,029 to £3,026, an increase of £197 per applicant. And that word, per applicant, matters enormously because there are no family discounts anywhere in this system. A partner applying for their own settlement pays the full fee. Each child applying for settlement in their own right pays the full fee too. Do the maths on a typical family of 4, 2 adults and 2 children, and you're looking at £3,226 multiplied by 4, just under £13,000 in total. And that's before anyone touches the optional priority services, £500 per person for a 5-day decision, or a full £1,000 per person if you want an answer by the next working day. This wasn't an isolated price rise either. The same April 2026 update also increased fees for British citizenship applications, skilled worker visas, global business mobility visas, and the sponsor licenses that let UK employers hire from overseas in the first place, making it a broad, system-wide cost increase rather than a single targeted hike. Now for the story that's genuinely still up in the air, because it involves one of the most significant proposed changes to British immigration in years. How long someone actually has to wait before they're even eligible to apply for that settlement in the first place. For a long time, 5 years of continuous residence has been the standard qualifying period for most work and family visa routes. On the 20th of November 2025, the Home Secretary stood up in the House of Commons and announced the government wanted to move away from that 5-year model entirely toward a new baseline of 10 years, doubling the standard wait, alongside a new concept called earned settlement, where people could still qualify sooner than 10 years based on factors like income, tax contributions, and how well integrated they are, alongside mandatory requirements around English language ability, a clean record, and passing the Life in the UK test. It's crucial to be precise about where this actually stands. This is not law. It has never been law. What happened after that announcement was a formal public consultation titled A Fairer Pathway to Settlement, which ran for 12 weeks, closing on the 12th of February 2026, and drew in an enormous response, roughly 130,000 submissions from the public and organisations alike. If the government does move ahead with it, changes were originally penciled in for implementation from April 2026, though as of the most recent statements, ministers have suggested the wider earned settlement reforms might not actually land until autumn 2026 at the earliest, and no final immigration rules have yet been laid before Parliament. One detail has already generated serious controversy though. In March 2026, the Home Secretary indicated the new model would likely apply not just to future applicants, but to people already living in the UK right now on a visa route who haven't yet reached their 5-year qualifying point, effectively moving the goalposts partway through people's existing applications. Until Parliament actually votes on finalised rules, this entire 10-year framework remains a serious, high-profile proposal, not a confirmed fact. Third, one of the most politically charged debates in Britain right now: what to do with foreign nationals serving prison sentences in the UK. The numbers themselves are relatively modest in the context of the wider prison population. Roughly 10,000 foreign nationals currently held in British prisons, making up about 12% of all inmates, with Albanian, Polish, Romanian, Irish, and Lithuanian nationals among the most commonly represented. but the political rhetoric around that modest number has become anything but modest. Reform UK has proposed deporting all 10,000 foreign prisoners, floating specific destinations including El Salvador and Kosovo, and claiming the move could save around £7 billion. That plan would require the UK to withdraw from the European Convention on Human Rights entirely, since current human rights obligations restrict deporting people, including those merely on remand awaiting trial, to countries where they might face inhumane treatment. The current government, without going anywhere near leaving the ECHR, has still moved considerably on this issue itself, changing the law to allow immediate deportation of some convicted foreign criminals and lowering the threshold at which most foreign national offenders become eligible for deportation, from having served 50% of their custodial sentence down to just 30%. A separate government-commissioned review, led by former Conservative Justice Secretary David Goke, has gone further still, recommending ministers get the power to fast-track deportations for foreign offenders serving sentences of up to 3 years without waiting for them to reach the halfway point of their sentence at all. Official figures show almost 5,200 foreign national offenders have already been deported since July 2024, a 14% increase compared with the same period the year before. Evidence the pace is accelerating even without reform's more radical proposal being adopted. Fourth, back to the channel and a genuinely alarming shift in how people smuggling networks are operating. Rather than running lots of smaller boats, smugglers have increasingly moved toward what's now widely being called the mega dinhai, a single vessel packed with as many people as physically possible. Numbers have climbed sharply in a short space of time. 165 people crammed onto one boat in July, 173 on another that later caught fire and capsized, and then a single crossing carrying 230 people on a dinghy estimated to be roughly the size of a standard bus. A UK government minister actually pointed to that record-breaking number as a sign that enforcement efforts, backed by a £662 million 3-year funding deal with France to put more officers on French beaches and deploy specialist riot police, were working, arguing. Smugglers were being forced toward fewer larger crossings rather than lots of small ones, because smaller launches were being intercepted more effectively. The uncomfortable flip side, which critics have been quick to point out, is that packing 230 people onto a single inflatable boat designed for a fraction of that number is also simply far more dangerous, and a strategy technically working on paper can still mean a genuinely higher risk of mass casualties on the water. Fifth, and this one's entirely confirmed and already finished, Britain has quietly completed a total overhaul of how immigration status is actually proven, ditching physical documents altogether in favour of digital records. From the 1st of January 2025, the Home Office stopped relying on the physical biometric residence permit, the small plastic card that used to be the standard proof of someone's right to live and work in the UK, replacing it with an online e-visa accessed through a UK VI account tied directly to a person's passport. Old BRP cards technically stopped being valid as proof of status from the 31st of December 2024. Then, on the 25th of February 2026, the UK went further still, officially ending the issuing of physical visa vignettes and biometric residence permits entirely, meaning every single new grant of leave in Britain, whether it's a visitor visa, a work visa, or full settlement, now exists purely as a digital e-visa. In practice, anyone needing to prove their status to an employer, a landlord, or a border official now generates something called a share code from their UK VI account, a temporary code valid for 90 days that gives whoever's checking secure access to confirm someone's immigration status online. No physical card required or even possible anymore. It's worth pausing on why the 10-year proposal in particular has generated so much anxiety among people already living in the UK on a visa. For someone who arrived 4 years ago specifically planning their finances, their career, and their family life around a 5-year path to permanent settlement, being told partway through that the goalposts might move to 10 years isn't a minor bureaucratic tweak, it's a fundamental rewrite of our plan they've already been living by for years. Immigration lawyers have been fielding a wave of client queries since the November 2025 announcement, specifically about whether it's worth applying for settlement earlier under the current 5-year rules before any new system potentially comes into force. A scramble that itself says a lot about how seriously people are taking a policy that, technically, is still just a consultation response away from becoming reality. The government has defended the proposal by arguing that a longer qualifying period, combined with the ability to earn a faster route through contribution and integration, better rewards people who are genuinely settling and contributing long-term, while critics argue it simply adds years of uncertainty, cost, and precarity to people's lives, particularly for those in lower-paid but essential jobs who may struggle to meet the earned fast-track criteria at all. Put those 5 stories side by side and a clear pattern emerges. It costs considerably more to settle in Britain than it did a year ago. That's finished and confirmed. How long people actually have to wait before they're even allowed to apply is being seriously renegotiated. But it isn't finished. It's still a live consultation working its way through Parliament. Deporting foreign offenders faster is already government policy in a moderate form, while a far more radical version of the same idea remains squarely a political pitch rather than actual law. The people smuggling networks profiting from small boat crossings are adapting to enforcement in real time, in ways that make individual crossings measurably more dangerous even as overall numbers shift. And the way Britain proves who's allowed to be here at all has already been completely digitized, with the physical card that used to symbolize that status now permanently retired. Some of this is done. Some of it is still being fought over. Knowing exactly which is the only way to actually follow where British immigration policy goes next. And given how quickly even the confirmed parts of this system have already changed once this year, it's worth assuming more updates on all 5 of these stories are still to come.